Hello, everyone, and welcome to 180 Degrees of Impact. My name is Matt Scott, and today I am joined by Tonya Prince. Tonya, how are you doing?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm really good and happy to be joined by you. And as I was saying before, to have your energy on this beautiful day,
Thank you.
like a ray of sunshine. So,
Thanks.
but
Thank you.
I'm excited to chat with you to kind of hear from your perspective I mean, now, especially just in starting to connect with you now in the few minutes before we started, to kind of learn more about your background, your story, and why you do the work you do, your tips, because I want people to learn from you. And so, yeah, it might seem like a tall order, but this is gonna be a lot of fun. I already know. Uh, and just as we get started, it would be great if you could introduce yourself to the 180 Degrees of Impact audience, because I know you have a lot going on, and my
Yes, I do.
introduction can't do you justice.
Oh, thanks. My name is Tonya G.J. Prince.
Mhm.
I have been in service to victims and survivors of domestic and sexual violence for like 24 years now. That's unbelievable to me. But yes, it has been that long. Um, See, I could go on and on about that, but I know we're going to get into that. So I usually just sum up some bullet points because this is such a heavy
Yeah.
topic. I do have some things that I like outside of this heaviness that I do. I like animals, but mostly rescues
Mhm.
because I like to take them in, and I'm an underdog person. So I like music. I like old school music especially, and I
Mhm.
like books, mostly memoirs.
Mhm.
So, and then yeah, finally, I love helping and serving people. That's just my passion.
Mhm. And so, what are some of the ways that you do that? You mentioned like your 24-year career, but what are some of the different projects you have going on or
Sure.
organizations that you have to do that?
Sure. Right now, I have a site, wesurviveabuse.com. That's a blog I've had running for a good little while. That basically, I like to give voice to people who aren't necessarily always heard when we're talking about sexual and domestic violence,
Mhm.
including men, people of color,
Mhm.
people with disabilities, and the like. So, we have a lot of tips, a lot of whole, I guess, potpourri of information, tips and tools for folks with that. I also have the Braid the Ladder Project, which is an organization that I started so that people would be reminded to, I guess, when you go to organizations and you make donations, you donate maybe like hair supplies, to
Mhm.
please include people who have ethnic hair
Yeah.
in that, because that doesn't always happen. And the last project I have is Survivor Affirmations, because I got feedback that there were a lot of survivors who really enjoyed the information that we have on Braid the Ladder or WeSurviveAbuse.com, but they just felt like they wanted something, like you said, positive, pleasant, just daily affirmations and great quotes from other people. And so we started that this year for those folks, because I truly believe that people have the right to heal in every healthy way that's available to them. So that was something that I wanted to start for those folks.
Wow. So I'm so amazed at, um, I'm really amazed at how much you're doing, and your actually at a lot of things. Your like long-term commitment to this work obviously is one piece
Yeah.
of that, because like one of the reasons I'm interviewing you is part of my focus for this April, which April being Sexual Assault Awareness Month, like my focus on that, and now it's been just about 7, if not 7.5 years, that I've been doing work on the side as an advocate, supporting survivors, creating awareness.
Oh, that's
And so
great.
forth. But it's amazing because like full time for work, I do marketing for the most part, and I even have 180 Degrees of Impact. And when I have the opportunity to do workshops and to speak with people
Right.
or
You do that.
to really do work in that space,
Exactly.
it is a lot of work, and so
Yeah.
that's one reason and when I say a lot of work, I mean like especially emotionally.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. It's heavy.
but I'm going back to like kind of why you, well, I'd love to know why you started, or how you got started doing that. And
Sure.
in particular, when I ask that, I guess I'm curious, like how you made the leap to do it, because a lot of people have this notion
Right.
that something should be done, but they don't always think they need to be the one to do it. So I'm curious, like
Exactly.
why did you get started?
Well, I started because unfortunately, I am also a survivor of sexual
Mm.
violence. I was raped and assaulted from the time I was a small child to the age of 13 when I decided to, I couldn't take it anymore. I just told my family about it,
Mhm.
went into therapy and all that. And I think that there was this natural inclination for people around me, including myself, to say,
Mhm.
okay, great, we've had the therapy, we're moving on, let's get away from that. And that's just not how it works.
Mhm.
Your healing very, very often is a lifetime of healing. You don't just pack it away, and it's not like getting a cut, a scar, and putting something on it and hey, it's done. It's a lifetime of healing. You get stronger, a lot stronger, but it's still a lifetime of healing. And so once I kind of decided that that wasn't the way to go, I went to college. I was studying to be a legal assistant, and I completed that. But I started to see all of these people who were like you, involved in working, and so it kind of clicked to me that domestic and sexual violence isn't like something like cancer. We're waiting on very, very smart people in white coats to go ahead and come up with a solution. Please hurry up and tell us you have something that you can give us a shot and we will not ever, be sick from this again. That's not how this works. I began to see, as I saw volunteers coming to my class, even just, doing orientation, or I even saw my mother, like you said, working part-time in domestic violence shelter. I saw Marilyn Vanderburg, 1950 Miss America, speak. And all of that came together to dawn on me. The only way that this is going to get solved is not by smart people in white coats. It's going to happen when everyday people decide to take whatever it is you are able to do, whatever it is you're good at, whatever it is you're able to do, and come on in and solve it. That's the only way this gets solved.
Mhm.
And so, like you said, everybody wants to know how you start. I guess, you know what? There's something to that law of attraction. Once I decided that, the next thing I knew, there was a job in the paper. And because I had volunteer experience, and I often tell people, get that volunteer experience, whatever it is you want to do, volunteer, volunteer, volunteer,
Mhm.
because it can help you to move into whatever professional position it is you want to move into. And that's what kind of put me over, because once I decided I had to get in there and help, I volunteered. And
Mhm.
when a position came open, I just happen to have the most experience. So, yeah, so that's pretty much how it happened.
Like thinking about you mentioned 24 years doing this work. Um, how have things evolved? Like how have you seen changes in the landscape of your work? And I'll say even for, I mean, I would guess that the answer is yes, but I'm curious what the changes are, because even for me, just looking at like what I started was when I was on on college campus when I was in college,
Right.
and that was even before a lot of these campaigns now, but on campuses, there's the It's On Us campaign now, making mainstream media and in stories every single day.
Right.
It's like Me Too,
Right.
like these
Right.
these stories. So I'm curious, how have you seen things evolve?
I think that it's, it was so much more silence around the topic when I started. But, there was so much more silence around the topic for people who started this long before me.
Mhm.
And so I guess it goes back to when we talk about one person being there, it really takes connecting with one person at a time for things to become normal when you talk about talking about it. And I guess I think what you might have been alluding to too when you asked me the question about exactly how I got into it. If I can tell you just a quick story. I saw, like I said, I have the influence of my mother working in the shelter, and my family is a service-oriented family, so that was already kind of my base, my foundation. But I think I mentioned that I was very quiet and silent about talking, and definitely felt the shame and the guilt, even with the therapy. Still felt all of that. But when I saw Marilyn Vanderburg, there was a part of me that thought I could not relate to her. I mean, she's Miss America 1950, and I was in my 20s, just, typical, just wearing, I remember when I met her, I had on just a sweatshirt, some jeans, tennis shoes. I mean, I was just, feeling a little bummed out, but at the same time, I was a college age kid, just, yeah. So, I just didn't think that there would be any, I didn't have any faith in it. However, I wanted to feel better. And so I wanted to go listen to someone, to anyone who had the same experience as me. So when I heard Marilyn Vanderburg, it was as if, even though we are very, very, very different people, the experiences and the end result was so similar. That feeling of, I felt guilt, I felt shame, I felt it was my fault, I felt all these things. People around you aren't exactly sure how to deal with it, and sometimes that comes out negatively, not always positively, because we just don't know how to deal with it. And at that, when I saw her, something in me said, now, you're not, I don't know how you're going to make this happen, because you're a mess right now, but if I ever get to feeling better, I'm going to speak, because it will likely have the same impact that she just had on me. I felt like my voice was free. I knew it was something maybe family, friends, whatever, wouldn't understand, as she spoke about her family, friends, not necessarily understanding, but that's okay. And that, you just have to go forward, in love, and because you're trying to serve people and you're trying to make change. Yeah. So those are the things that might be something that, like you said, how was the mind shift? Because even after I got the therapy, as far as I was concerned, you just keep quiet. You don't this is the message I was receiving as well from not just family, society, and all. Okay, you got your little therapy and everything, and you keep quiet and move on. Get over it, as they say. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't that. Once I sat there with her, like I said, I had no idea how I was going to get there. But if I ever got on the other side of healing, I was going to open my mouth and speak. And that's pretty much what the, all these projects are about. Is mostly just about my way of speaking and visibility and letting people know, I see you. I know you're there. If you need help, let's try to help you get some resources and get where you're going, because healing is possible.
Yeah. Thinking about the power of stories, because you're a storyteller, you experienced that. I experienced that as a storyteller myself. So we have that in common. Yep. I'm curious if there's a story that was shared through some of your work, or that you've heard shared more broadly, other than Miss America, or just a common person story that really resonated with you and you really inspired you or inspires you to continue to do the work you do. So to give an example from my experience, there's someone who I was actually friends with when we were on campus it was George Washington University. And now she is speaking up, using her story about how she was assaulted far and wide. And I'm so proud of her, especially because I knew her, I think I was a junior in college and she was a freshman. And I saw her really go through this experience and using her story to inspire others. And it's cool now, because now I will meet other survivors or other people in the space who know her and were inspired to come forward because of her. And so I'm wondering if there's anything like that you've encountered over the years.
I think, well, for me, that's the story with most of those folks are my colleagues, like LaQuisha Hall or LaVon Morris Grant, or, those folks who've written books, who've done things, but like we're colleagues. However, for someone I've worked with, there are days when I don't feel so great about this work. But stories like, I call her Tina. She was someone I met who was in a domestic violence situation. And at the time she was waiting tables, great work. And she and her husband were going through some things, and she was being stalked and the like, and it was horrible. And as we're going step by step, I saw her bloom into this person who not only became angry just about what was happening to her, but she would shadow me, with cases, and she'd say, I'm angry about what's happening to them.
Yeah.
And then she went to school to be a social worker. And so, and began to write, because I was talking to her and I was like, what do you like to do? And come to find out she loves to write. So she began to write, and she took off, and she, went to school to be a social worker to help other people. So those are the stories that really, when people step out of themselves, and yes, you're filled with pain and you're still going through all the stuff you're going through, but yet you're able to step outside and help other people and feel just as passionate about helping other people get to where they would like to go.
So you mentioned the one piece of it is something that, is obvious to me, but maybe it's not obvious to, let's say, someone who's listening and is not familiar with the space, that it's not easy. There are days where you don't want to do that work. And you kind of mentioned at the beginning some of the pieces of self-care, I'll say, like things that you do outside of your work to take care of yourself. Could you talk a little bit more about that? Like what do you do in your time that just relaxes you and gives you, recharges your batteries, so to speak?
Music is a huge part of that. I will play the silliest songs, Digital Underground or what have you. And if I don't feel like dancing, I'm going to dance because it takes me just takes me away from that mindset. And now I feel happy again. So music is huge for me. I remember I used to go to the courthouse sometimes, and I revealed this to my coworkers later. Sometimes I'd be having a horrible day. Everything's going wrong in court, and I'm helping folks and whatnot. And I would have to go to the bathroom and just wiggle and dance and just pretend like music was playing, like it was my dance floor, because I've got to get out. I got to get my head. I know, right? They said the same thing. I don't think it's funny. But I have to get my head out of the misery, and I don't always feel like doing that, but I have to. One thing. And then reading and just having fun with my family. I am a cut up. I'm silly on purpose. And the other thing is I have a thing where I must laugh every single day. I have to find something to laugh at, like from my gut, every single day, just to keep my spirits up. So that's it.
I think that's powerful though to hear, because I think, a theme that I keep running into with people I talk with, and you're a great example of that, is that I think when certain people think of what someone who works in the space of like sexual assault, sexual violence, domestic violence, whatever like the term is in that case, I don't want to say there's a stereotype that it's people who are like all sad and like broken in any way. Like that's probably a stereotype. I don't meet a lot of people, I guess, on like who have that stereotype because they know survivors or know people in the work. Like they know that, for instance, they even know me as someone who's like fun and has a good time. And so I think it's important. One thing that's really important for me, not that I'm doing it intentionally, but it's important to show that like we are all like these very multi-dimensional people
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
laugh, and some, like you're saying, laugh every single day with music,
Yes.
dancing.
Yes.
Sometimes our coworkers will laugh at us for that.
Yes.
But it's important. It's important to do that, and especially as you're like on the road to making a positive difference in the world, which is something I want to ask about. You know, you have all these like all these things that you've created, but I'd love to know, what is your vision for them? What, like, and maybe I was gonna say it might be obvious, but you know, maybe I'll be surprised.
I'm not. My vision and is to see, of course, healed individuals, healed families, and therefore we'll have healed communities. And so I'm always surprised sometimes when I share something that people were healed, but not in the way I thought. So I just put it out there now. Mm-hmm. I shared something, I forgot the name of it, but it went far and wide. And it was about signals that my mother missed when she would pick me up from the person who was abusing me. And there were so many parents who responded to that and responded about how they felt guilt and how they, you know, their concerns and their fears. And just so, you know, I didn't expect all these parents of survivors to come out like this. Yeah. And that was great. So my vision, I think, I definitely want people to, I love this platform because I want, all of us have an expiration date. And I definitely want people to be empowered that within their time, they will go out and do far more than I ever thought to do. Mm-hmm. So I want to inspire people to do whatever it is they want to do or see a need for, or what have you. Mm-hmm. I want healthier children. So therefore empowered parents who have a strategy in place so that if anything happens, they know better how to handle things. Mm-hmm. And don't feel the weight of the guilt and the shame and this and that, you know, they're equipped. And like I said, the families, because I mean, come on, families, you know, families are very important to me. So we need healthier families, healthier communities. And if we had that, I think we'd all be better off.
Yeah. As a follow-up to that, just thinking about people who are doing this work or who are interested in doing work that you're doing, what advice do you have for them? You probably have a lot of advice, I'm sure. But what are some?
No, I just have one main piece.
Oh, wow.
Something my mom told me, because I'm the type who I want change and I want it now. I'm very impatient when it comes to change. I'm getting better, but my mother has this quote that she used to tell me even from a little girl, and she definitely tells me every time now. She said, honey, as long as you are in motion, expect to encounter resistance. So now I know that when I'm doing something, my site has been hacked several times. Oh. You know, if I'm doing something, don't get so furious and surprised and upset about it. Because if you decide to help people, that is not going to be an instant upward trajectory. It's not going to happen like that. Mm-hmm. You're going to experience, you're making change for the better. Transformation is very challenging. And if you get into this, you're going to expect the resistance. However, it's worth every forward motion you take. Every forward motion. It's worth it. Mm-hmm. So that's all my advice I have.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there's so many examples that I think of this in, but oftentimes I think that resistance is a sign that you are doing something right, that you're succeeding in getting your message out, because you have, exactly. You're getting the, I don't even want to say negative feedback, because I don't even think that's really what it is, but you simply put, like, you get the haters sometimes who just tear down your work, and that means that you're at least doing a great job getting the word.
Making
So
an impact.
congratulations on making an impact and on getting weird on getting your site hacked. Basically, is what I'm saying. But just thinking of that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. Oh gosh. Yeah.
I'm
So
telling you, it happens.
that's something I think for people to think about. If anyone's watching and they've gotten their site hacked, like that is maybe it's a good sign. This is one. It's all about.
They wouldn't take it down if you weren't saying anything.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I feel like everything in life, and I feel like I'm sure this is something you could relate to, but sometimes you just need to shift your perspective in order to like make it through and carry on instead of, just being upset about the setbacks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
It's not. But I want to know, like, really, really wrapping up this interview, because I really feel like we just started, but like I already have my last question, which is, I guess it's my favorite question, or one of my favorite questions, really. That if your life were a book or a documentary, what would the title of that be and why?
I thought about that, and I think not to bandwagon onto Me Too, but hey, it's a great campaign. Shout out to Tarana Burke. That is a great campaign. Mm-hmm. But I think mine would be I Will Survive Too. Yeah. Gloria Gaynor, I wrote about her on WeSurviveAbuse.com. Mm-hmm. She's also a survivor, and she wrote so eloquently about it. And so I always loved the song I Will Survive, mm-hmm. but it took on such a different meaning when I heard about, all of her problems in various relationships and how she had been unfortunately used and the like. So I would call it I Will Survive Too, because I now know that if somebody else can do it, if anybody else can survive, if you can look at another person, a Miss America or whomever, or Tarana Burke, LaQuisha Hall, Lavon Morris Grant, you can look at them and see, hey, they survived it. It's for you too. Because I think there was a time when I just would look at something and go, oh, that's for them. That's nice. They must have something I don't have. Mm-hmm. No, healing is for everyone. And so it's for all of us. There's nothing about any individual person. Healing is for all of us if we'll take it, if we'll take it on.
Yeah.
So that's what I call it.
That's so beautiful. And I love that title.
Thank you.
I love that title. And I hope it would be, I don't know, I feel like your energy, while we could get it through the book in writing, I would like a documentary that really sums up.
That would be
to get the music in, the dancing in. We'll have some animals in. We'll have all the energy in here. You can use
dancing
if you want. The dancing will be in there.
I have to have dancing.
Well, actually, that's brings me to a follow-up question to that, to the end. Like, what is? This is like such a vague question, really. But just to share, like, is there any piece of art, whether that's music or whatever it is that's on your heart, that's really like inspiring you and gives you life and energy? Because I want to leave people with something to look at other than all of the work that you're doing, of course.
Oh gosh, that's such a hard question.
I know, because I'm sure you're like, okay, well, there's listen to all these songs today.
It's music, and you know what? Yeah. It is the song I Will Survive. Who doesn't that inspire? Yeah. Who hasn't been inspired? I love that song. Yeah. But it's definitely music, because sometimes I remember once I was frustrated and crying and upset, and I called my pastor and I was like, oh, what's going on? I'm reading this in the Bible, and I'm listening to this, and I'm hearing it. And he said, stop. He said, what you need is music. He said, because it does, you need to get out of that. You need to get out of all of that. You can't take in anything unless you get your mind straight. So he was right. He was like, well, I want you to stop all of that. Stop reading the Bible. It's like, stop. You need to listen to music. Yeah. And I picked some songs, and those were the songs I listened to over and over and over and over. And one day my mind changed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it wasn't instant, but he was right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, it's got to be music.
No, I'm thankful for you sharing, and I feel like that's like if people do one thing after this, for one, I think they need to listen to "I Will Survive," Gloria Gaynor. But also, I think they need to go to your websites and all that stuff. So, where can people learn more about your work?
Sure. You can go to wesurviveabuse.com, braidtheladder.org for the assisting men, women, and children in shelters. And the new one, survivораffirmations.com.
Awesome. And if anyone wants to learn more about 180 Degrees of Impact, they just visit www.lets.care, at Let's You Care on social media, which is how we got connected. So I'm very thankful for Twitter. And, and other than that, thanks again for joining. I really appreciate it.
Oh, this was great. You are an awesome interviewer. Thank you so much.
Oh, wow. Thank you. You're an awesome person to interview. It's all about it's all about the conversation. That's what it's about. So
thank you. You make everybody feel just relaxed and at home, and
I feel relaxed and I actually am at home, so this is good. But and for anyone who's watching, as I say at the end of these interviews, until next time, keep impacting.